What's going on, guys, and welcome to today's video. And I don't really know where this part is going to be in the video for her new car, but this is the wife's current daily driver, her 2023 Chevy Bolt EUV. Now, this is her second electric vehicle, the first one being that 22 Mini Cooper SE that was actually a blast to drive. But a bunch of people hate on EVs, but to be honest, they've been extremely reliable, and for her usage, they've worked out absolutely perfectly. Her Mini Cooper SE she had for right around a year and put 10,000 or so miles on. This Bolt EUV we've had for right at 2 years, and she's got right at 26,000 miles, and it's needed absolutely nothing. It's an electric vehicle. The only thing you need to do is plug the thing in at night, and you've got a charged battery the next day. Occasionally air up your tires and rotate them. Other than that, there's literally nothing you do. You don't use brakes. You don't really have any maintenance. So for her, it's been really good. So the 26,000 miles that we put on this Bolt EUV has been, like I said, 100% trouble-free. It's never been to the dealership once. We've never had a light on the dash. We've never had anything come up with a problem. Now, we do have 240 volt level 2 charging here in the new home. That's one of the things we purposely did since we knew she was going to be EV charging here in the garage, and that has made life so much nicer being able to level 2 charge. But with the potential for the EV federal tax credit going away for 2025, we won't get into politics, but that is potentially or probably or 100% sure going away. So she had a very strong incentive to be able to jump into a new vehicle, or a new EV, I should say. Now, we had been looking at the 2024 Equinox EVs for her because they were supposed to be this magical $35,000 vehicle that was going to come out, and then they were $50,000 because they never came out with the entry or the price point model until 2025. You can now pick one up for $35,000 minus your $7,500 federal tax credit. It makes it a real cheap vehicle to own and to drive maintenance free. So her and I are going to jump in the Bolt, do one last drive to the dealership and say goodbye and come home in the new Equinox EV, and then we'll take a tour of that thing. Well, guys, here we are now with the new 2025 Equinox EV LT. Now, this is actually a couple of weeks after the initial intro to this video. We've owned the thing and, like I said, had it for a couple of weeks of driving. And with everything else going on, I haven't gotten a chance to film a proper introduction with the Equinox. But we can do that now since we have a little bit of sun here. So we will do our normal thing here. We'll do a walk around. We'll talk about things. We'll go out and drive it and see how this new platform works for us. Now, if you didn't know, this is on GM's new Ultium EV platform, and there's like a ridiculous amount of vehicles built on this platform. We'll get back into that here shortly. Now, I'm gonna pull out my cheat sheet here because this is not a car review channel, but like I said in that intro, new for 2025, they finally made the base model LT trim. In 2024, they announced the Equinox EV, saying, yes, it's going to be a $35,000 vehicle. It's going to be super cheap. And then they never made it. But for 25, they finally got their head out of you-know-where and made the entry-level price point Equinox EV. And I'll throw a picture of the window sticker for this particular vehicle. It is as base as you could possibly get. There is not a single option other than the charging cord, which you kind of need in your Equinox EV. So this being a 2025 Equinox EV LT base model gets you in at $35,000 on the dot with the window sticker. Now, of course, incentives like we talked about, you've got your $7,500 federal tax credit, which now can come off at the time of purchase. We also got a $2,500 EV Bolt loyalty ownership rebate, and then we had another like $2,000 rebate for, I can't even remember now. So we had $10,000+ off our $35,000 entry-level Equinox EV. So you're looking at $25,000 for a brand new vehicle that has a full warranty. Now, yes, it is an electric vehicle, so range, what do you have for range with your Ultium platform? In this configuration with the, I believe, 85 kilowatt battery and the front wheel drive only, because these are offered in all wheel drive, you have 319 miles of range. So let's kind of back that up. $25,000 with 319 miles of range. And yeah, like we found in previous EVs on the channel, you do lose quite a bit of range when you're in the cold, in the hot, on the highway, doing things you would normally do in a car. But again, we're hopefully going to get this thing out on a road trip in next month and maybe see what this thing does. But as this one is equipped front wheel drive with the 85 kilowatt battery. Now, this does not have an option for the larger battery. I believe the Cadillac Lyrics and some of the other platforms which use the same chassis or platform do offer the larger batteries, but the cheap Equinoxes, doesn't even matter what trim level, all have that same battery. So if you do opt for the rear or the all-wheel drive, excuse me, you do lose a little bit of range. So your front wheel drive is kind of your sweet spot if you're wanting 300 plus miles of range for $25,000. Again, that's kind of why the title is bought the cheapest vehicle or EV, because all your other cheap entry-level EVs, A, don't offer the federal tax credit, whether they're Nissan or what have you, or they have ridiculously small range. This being over 300 miles is kind of unheard of at that price point. Now, talking about performance here, we've got 213 horsepower, which isn't all that much in this size of vehicle, but it does move fine under acceleration getting onto the highway. It's nothing to write home about, but it does move completely adequate. If you did opt for the all-wheel drive, you do take the hit on the range, but you get 288 horsepower. So that would definitely be noticeable, having that rear motor being able to push the vehicle also. Now, that Ultium platform, like I talked about, that's what GM is using on absolutely everything EV right now. With the Bolt EUV going away, everything is now on that platform. And by everything, I mean not even just GM vehicles. The Acura ZDX is apparently the same Ultium platform. Buick has a few electric vehicles. Cadillac has the Lyriq, like we already talked about. The Chevy Blazer EV, of course, the Equinox EV, the Silverado, the Hummer EV, the big, huge $100,000 Hummer EV. And yeah, did I mention the Honda Prologue? All of those vehicles share the same chassis or the same platform, however you want to call it, but underneath the battery, the architecture is all the same, which is pretty wild to think about. But this thing does drive and ride noticeably better than the old Bolt EUV. The Bolt EUV had a beam rear axle and wasn't terribly sophisticated underneath, but this thing is a proper engineered vehicle, if you want to say. Independent suspension front and rear, and you do definitely notice it going down the road. So let's do a walk around inside and out, and we'll make a quick drive and see what our kind of impressions have been. Now guys, walking up front here, one of the benefits of going with the lower trim model vehicle is the 19-inch wheels. Now you might say, why is a smaller wheel a benefit? Because the higher trim levels come with a 21-inch wheel, which makes that tire sidewall even thinner. And I have seen quite a few people complaining of ride quality, ride noise, etc. with those big 21-inch wheels. So again, I think the sweet spot here is those 19-inch wheels on the lower trim level. One thing exterior wise, which I do think is very, very cool feature on a entry level or price point vehicle, are the powered, I guess you want to say Tesla style door handles. We've got our passive entry. We can lock them, and it of course is sensing I've got the key in my pocket, but you've got powered door handles, which may or may not be a good thing come winter, come snow and ice, when this is iced over, if you're not able to be in a garage and not able to get into your vehicle. But with just walking up to the vehicle with the key in your pocket, again, it's probably angry since I just locked it, it will automatically open all the door handles so you can open and get into the vehicle. Now guys, jumping into the back seat, I am 6'3", and I believe I've got the driver's seat in the normal driving position for myself, and I have absolutely all the room I could want. I've got headroom, which is pretty rare for me in a back seat of anything, and if you guys can see, I still have decent knee room or leg room, even with that seat reclined and slid back. Now back here we are pretty sparse. We've got some rear HVAC vents, and we do have 2 USB Type-Cs, which is good for charging there in the back seat. Now coming around out back, if this were a higher trim level vehicle, we would be able to hit our tailgate open button and have a power lift gate open and close this thing. This, of course, is a base model. We do not have the power lift gate, but we still have the massive storage area here in the back. And apparently, don't quote me because I have not been in the Blazer, but a lot of people are claiming the Equinox EV has a little bit more cargo room than its supposedly larger brother, the Blazer EV. So we've got a really nice flat load floor, and underneath we've got even more storage with our tire inflator kit up there, because of course we do not have a spare tire like 99% of new vehicles. Now, both of those seats do fold down, flip forward, and basically make this whole load floor nice and flat, which is a benefit if you're going to be hauling things or doing things for work. Now, real quickly, we will look under the hood because, like most entry-level or price point EVs, you do not have a frunk or any sort of front storage. All of your engine management, the electric drivetrain, your 12-volt battery, all of that stuff is just piled under the hood, and you do lose any sort of storage that you might have in some of your other EVs, again, with that front trunk area. But with all the cargo room in the back, it's not really a big issue, or at least I don't see it as a big issue. The technician in me does appreciate I'm not removing 10 panels like on a Tesla to get to the 12-volt battery. I've got easy access to coolant, brake fluid, you know, we've got AC ports. Again, everything is pretty darn easy to get to. Most of you owners wouldn't be even needing to concern yourself with that since the vehicle's under warranty, but if you did have to do something like a 12-volt battery, it is right there and easy to get to. So guys, I think we're going to jump in the driver's seat, quickly kind of go through some infotainment stuff, and then at least get this thing out and drive it. So jumping into the driver's seat, we do have, again, some decent storage being an EV. Under our transmission tunnel area, you've of course got a storage area. You've got a decent sized center console with a little removable tray, with that console going pretty far down. Now, sitting here in the driver's seat, we of course do have a very large storage area here, which again, on a higher trim level would be a wireless charging pad, but like we talked about, this being a base model does not include that. But other than that, the interior is very similar to the higher trim levels. You are missing some ambient lighting, which again, the higher trim levels offer, but something you are not missing is the infotainment and instrument cluster and radio screens. You've got really, really nice, clear, high resolution screens here for your infotainment, radio, climate control, and nav. And then moving over to your instrument panel, you've got speedometer, and a lot of this stuff can kind of be carried over. You can see we've got our audio showing on both, but we can cycle through and, you know, go over to a big, huge Google map here, very similarly to a very high definition, clean, pretty screen here. I really, really appreciate the screen resolution. Now, one thing that is very much lacking here is this steering wheel. Day one, during the test drive, myself and the wife also noticed or commented, this is the worst steering wheel we have ever felt. This is a very much nylon plastic Fisher-Price steering wheel. It feels not good in the hand. The shape, of course, is fine, but the material, the texture is absolutely atrocious. It is really, really bad on a $35,000 vehicle to grab the plastic Fisher-Price steering wheel, but we do actually have something to take care of that in a future video. Now, some of the other things that are missing. Again, this being a base model, we do have our cloth seats, which are very nice and comfortable, but we are missing heat. We do not have heated, cooled anything on, again, that base model. Steering wheel, of course, not heated. And again, seats are not heated either. Now, taking off here in our Equinox EV, the shifter is a little weird, I guess. We were coming from the Bolt EV with a little quick push button pull thing for the shifter. This thing is up here on the steering column. You push in for park, you pull up in and up for reverse, and vice versa for drive in and down. So a little bit different, but once you're used to it, it seems to work pretty darn well. Now, like I said, guys, we have had this thing for about 2 weeks now, so I can't really speak on any range numbers. It is cold here. We've got 20 to 30 degree mornings right now in the Kansas area, but it's inside the garage. And currently we haven't taken it on any long test drives or long drives for that matter. Again, I believe we've got one we're potentially planning the beginning of next month. So that might be a good test for this new Ultium platform to see how well it does in the cold on the highway, doing everything you're not supposed to do with an EV. Now, one thing I will mention, or what I really do appreciate, is the one pedal driving. Now, yes, that is very common on all EVs, but this has variable levels of regenerative braking. And again, most vehicles, or some vehicles, do have that to an extent, whether you have it on a low or high regen. This has like 3 levels of regen. And on the highest level, dang, it works really, really well. We've got it set to the highest level on regen, and man, you better be ready. When you lift your foot off of the throttle pedal, it immediately brings you to a stop or a very rapid slowdown. Now, talking about power acceleration, it definitely gets up and moves, but with only 213 horsepower in this relatively larger vehicle, it's nothing absolutely crazy, but again, it definitely moves the vehicle. And you've got that electric down low torque that basically pulls relatively hard off the line and continues moving up to speed. But we were very spoiled with the Mini Cooper SE that we had. That was an absolute blast to drive and was quick and snappy at any speed. But again, getting onto the highway here, foot on the floor, it definitely pushes you back in the seat. No, nothing crazy, but I mean, we're already doing well over the speed limit now, just like that. We were quickly coming up on our gas counterparts in front of us with no issue. So it is absolutely fine to drive. And again, if you had the all-wheel drive and had the dual motor there in the back pushing you forward, you would absolutely be moving quicker. Now, road noise and vehicle feel, again, feels very, very improved over our Bolt EUV. The Bolt EUV had quite a bit of road noise, and I always thought that thing felt very under-dampened. You'd hit a bump and you'd kind of get a lot more oscillations and bouncing, I guess would be the term, than I always thought it should have. This thing feels so much more planted. Now, yes, I'm sure it's a considerably heavier vehicle, which has to help, but the fact that it's got independent suspension back there versus the beam axle like the Bolt and Bolt EUV had absolutely should be helping in the handling, ride, quality, all of that. Now, again, sitting here at this stoplight, the darn screen looks really, really nice. Again, high resolution. Every time, or the few times I've driven this, that's just kind of what I've taken from it, is that GM really put a nice infotainment setup in this, which isn't a big deal to most, but a lot of people do care. Now, one thing that is really, really unfortunate for 2025 and for 2024 for that matter is the loss of Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You now have Google Assistant. You log into your Google account from your vehicle. You've got the maps. You can ask Google to have it navigate you places, but all of your really nice Android Auto, Apple CarPlay integration absolutely gone. You can download some apps on the Play Store and download them to the vehicle and then have to log into them on the vehicle, but then they're not all there. So it's absolutely a step backwards from having Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but it is what it is, and I guess we'll work around it. So guys, I guess I'm not really sure what else to say. This thing, again, is a very low trim level, but we've still got blind spot monitors, lane departure, adaptive cruise control. We've got all the things that you'd kind of like or want in a modern vehicle, or EV for that matter. We've got our, crash avoidance, forward collision warning. All of those kind of now commonplace features are of course here in this thing. And I guess our only takeaway, her and I's takeaway, is boy, this steering wheel is atrocious. And man, we kind of wish the thing had heated seats. And you might be yelling at your screen right now going, well, why didn't you option heated seats? Order them, come on. The only issue to be able to get your simple heated seats is an additional $8,000 or $9,000 for the comfort and convenient package, which includes leather seats, heated steering wheel, a whole plethora of things just to get one darn thing you actually wanted. So guys, that's what the plans are for this thing. Of course, this is her daily driver, but I do have a few mods, Equinox EV mods planned to hopefully correct our horrible feeling steering wheel and to add some heated seats in this thing. So look forward to some future videos where we take care of those issues and make this base model hopefully a little less base and a little nicer place to be while driving. And yeah, hopefully we'll get a long trip and see how this new platform does. But so far in town, it feels really nice and it seems to be doing well. So guys, thanks for coming out into the garage and saying goodbye to the Bolt EUV and hello to the new Equinox EV LT, cheapest EV on the market with all of the discounts and rebates. And we'll hope we have as good of luck with this thing as we did with the Bolt. And if not, I'm sure you'll hear about it here on the channel. So guys, as always, thanks for watching and we'll catch you guys next time.